I want to talk about something really crazy. Check this out. So everybody knows there's a gas shortage. It's all over the news, as much as the New York Times and some other outlets might want to lie about it. But when I'm looking up stories trying to get more details on this, something really interesting happens when you Google search gas shortage. What's the date you find on some of these stories?
1970.
No. Well, yeah, for sure. 1979, Jimmy Carter. Of course. People are, is it Biden Jr. compared Biden to Carter? And it's like, what did he tweet? It's like, I guess my tweet on this is aging like fine wine. No. No, the hack happened on Friday. What was Friday? Was it the 7th?
That was the 7th. Yep.
The 7th. So you Google search gas shortage, you'll find stories going back to April 27th, April 29th. Whoa. How was there a news cycle about gas shortages before the hack even happened? And it's one thing if it was like a few months before, they were like, economists predict. No, it's like a few days before this happened. We were getting these predictions. Check it out. CNN Business. Coming this summer, gas stations running out of gas. Check this out. ABC News. Lack of truck drivers could lead to fuel shortage this summer. And we've got this on Fox Business. Truck driver, I'm sorry. Yes, it's from May 3rd. Truck driver shortage could fuel spike in gas prices. This, to me, is just very, very interesting timing.
Yeah. Does any one of those articles talk about why there's a shortage in truck drivers? We produced more oil and gas than ever before in the year 2019 and 2020. We never seem to have a shortage of truck drivers.
Here's what ABC News says.
Where did they go?
As millions of Americans return to driving and planning summer road trips, experts are warning that some gas stations could face fuel shortages. Quote, "We are not looking at a shortage of gasoline." Jeanette McGee, a AAA spokesperson, said in an interview with ABC News, "In fact, we have ample supply in the U.S. to get through the summer and the rest of the year. What the concern is right now is a shortage of fuel truck drivers." First reported by CNN. The national tank truck carriers. The industry's trade group said that between 20% and 25% of tank trucks in the fleet are parked. Last year during the pandemic, many of the drivers retired or they went to different industries, and that created a shortage. Truck drivers also need special training to haul oil, and some driving schools have closed amid the pandemic, exacerbating the problem.
Wow.
Some areas have begun to see the effects of the driver shortage, particularly Las Vegas and Northwest Arkansas. McGee said vacation hotspots near beaches or in the mountains in particular could feel the biggest effects. Someone super chatted us this. They said there's a trucker shortage and it could result in supply shortages. You go to Walmart. Already, what was it? You were saying you couldn't find bacon?
Yeah, we were looking for bacon actually at Costco the other day.
Couldn't find bacon.
Find it anywhere.
The 4-pack of bacon, that's like the most inexpensive bacon in the world?
Yeah.
Can't find the bacon.
That's scary.
The 4-pack of bacon.
Yeah.
So I just find it absolutely fascinating that we have these news stories talking about this trucker shortage a week ago. The cyber attack happens, perhaps coincidence, but the new emergency regulations allow truck drivers to drive more than their allotted hours.
When did that regulation get put into effect?
After the cyber attack.
Wow.
Isn't it just, I'm not asserting anything other than
I will.
What a very interesting coincidence.
Yeah, we have to
I'll just lay it out.
Thank you, Tim.
A week before the cyber attack, there aren't enough truck drivers, warns CNN, ABC, and Fox. This could result in rising gas prices, and it could result in gasoline shortages. So how do you compensate? How would a normal person compensate for a lack of drivers? Well, outside of any cyber attack, you'd say, can we increase the amount of hours the oil haulers are allowed to drive? There's a federal regulation barring that. Well, I guess coincidentally, a national emergency or a regional emergency, 17 states in DC, and now the drivers are allowed to drive over their allotted times.
You could eliminate that problem altogether if you just built pipelines.
I know, isn't it great?
Right? It's greener, it's cheaper, it's safer. It's
yeah, let me ask you, a lot of people, proponents of the Keystone Pipeline, said that there's actually more leaks. I think Ian brought up, you looked it up, there were like 26 leaks from Keystone or something.
Like that, yeah.
But are there, I guess per gallon, are there more leaks from freight and train?
Oh, absolutely. And it's well documented that pipelines are by far safer, cleaner, greener, and what I care most about, the more cost efficient for the American consumer. Indisputed. And proof of the matter is the amount of pipeline we have. I mean, we have enough pipelines to go to the moon and back 10 times in America.
Oh,
right? We have almost 3 million miles worth of pipeline crisscrossing this country. This place we're in probably has multiple gas pipelines all throughout the walls. And people are like, I'm afraid of pipelines. Well, you can't be that afraid because you do go to your home, right? So our pipeline capacity in America is absurd. But it is vulnerable, clearly, to cyber attacks.
So Keystone was going to be bringing in from like the tar sands areas, or
Alberta, Canada. Yeah. The only reason why the president got involved in Keystone is because it crossed an international border, right? And now they're trying to use that as a premise to shut down other pipelines. But he is not a czar. Neither president, nor Trump, nor Biden could go into a state and say, I want to shut down this pipeline within the state of Minnesota. That's not your prerogative. He's going to try to make it his prerogative, and this is where, thank God, we have the 10th Amendment and hopefully a court system that upholds it and says...
I don't know, man.
But yeah, I don't know either.
Isn't, I think Canada is suing now over this?
Yeah, as they should, because Canada followed all of the rules to get this pipeline approved. I don't know what the statute of limitation is for a presidential executive order. They went through all of the necessary paperwork starting years ago, starting in the Obama administration. Obama never rejected it. He just kept it on abeyance forever. And then finally Trump became president. Well, they were hoping Hillary would be the one to have to give the big no. She didn't win. Trump won. Okay, boom, let's get the pipeline started.
So we had Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert on the show last night, and they were talking about, the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency, so we got to send it out. Otherwise, it's not the reserve currency. So they print this money, they give it to these foreign countries to maintain the status as the reserve currency. I guess because the U.S. doesn't make a whole lot, and we're being given all the stuff because we print money. But I wonder if, and you're the energy guy, so correct me if this is not true, or, well, not correct me, but I'll ask the question. Is the reason why the Democratic establishment or the political establishment in general doesn't want to produce fossil fuels here is because they want to use the U.S. reserve currency to have other countries do it and maintain, our status abroad?
I would say that they don't want to produce fossil fuels because it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest industry that is not controlled by the state. And I think at this point, the modern Democrat Party is a statist party. And the fossil fuel, and it's kind of what Obama did with healthcare, right? He wanted to centralize healthcare under the purview of the federal government because that's just what big statists think. Venezuela has national energy. Most of the European countries have national energy. Huh? Exactly. And I think they hate this industry in particular. Climate change and all that stuff is just a very good vehicle to accomplish what they want. And what they want is a state-run. They want to nationalize the election system.
You're right.
They like nationalizing and centralizing everything, industry, whatever.
We had this PhD pathologist guy on the show, and he was talking about like insect species collapse and the ramifications of human population. It's expansive. There's ocean acidification, and I think that crisis is absolutely exploited. I know a lot of conservatives don't agree. They think it's a lot of propaganda. I think it's a crisis, and I think it's exploited to the most absurd degree. Notably, when we're talking about the border crisis, what was it? Kamala Harris was like, the crisis is caused by climate change.
Yeah.
And it was funny because conservatives predicted it. They were like, Kamala Harris is going to go up on the podium and say climate change caused the crisis. And she did it. And it's just absolutely absurd. But I believe this is their go-to to seize power. I'd be willing to bet it has more to do with consolidating power within the state. Like you mentioned,
yeah.
It's not a federal controlled industry or whatever. And they want that power.
And climate change is a wonderful villain because it is faceless, it is nameless, and you are powerless against it. So, for example, you take someone like Gavin Newsom, who talks about the fires in California are caused by climate change, which is crazy because Southern Oregon doesn't have that level of fires, Western Nevada doesn't have that level of fires, Southwest Idaho doesn't have that level. Why is just California climate change? Well, now I am absolved of forest management. I am absolved of running the state because it's climate change.
Remember when they criticized Trump? Trump tweeted out, it's poor forest management. And they're like, oh, geez, Trump's so dumb. And there's actually an article from like a year before. It was like California's not managing their forests properly. It's going to result in fires. Not only that, but I think one of the wildfires was caused by electrical company not shutting off the grid properly.
PG&E, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it sparked and ignited things. And they're like, well, clearly that was because of the CO2 levels. But I'll tell you this, look, I think, I talked to some very smart people and they say there's concerns about what happens when you have too many people. It's not, a lot of people think overpopulation is like we're all standing shoulder to shoulder. No, it's just a lot of waste is produced and it can upset the delicate balance of an ecosystem. Unfortunately, for the people who are environmentalists and really advocating for this stuff, I got to say, you have lost the trust of so many people when Barack Obama buys beachfront property, when these wealthy investors go and buy Miami Beach property while complaining that Miami is sinking.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, dude. It's really hard to generate trust. And if you're somebody who wants, these Democrats are like, Republicans got to get on board and fight climate change. Well, you got to start with, your thought leaders not flying in private jets, not owning massive 50-bedroom homes, and not buying this beachfront property. I saw this video. It was actually really compelling. Not in the way I think a lot of conservatives expected it to be for me. There's a guy, he's a financial guy, and he says the one thing that he believes disproves climate change is that in Miami Beach, they're still selling these multi-million-dollar expensive properties. Yeah. And these very wealthy individuals who are supposed to be in the know are buying them on 30-year mortgages. And he says, how is it when they receive like a prospectus or like an investment packet, it doesn't say, warning, in 10 years, this will be underwater and worth zero? How is that? Well, when I saw that, what it said to me was, these people either don't believe their own pitches, or they're absolutely just willing to exploit people by buying property they know is going to be bunk and then selling it later, or just going like extracting as much as they can from the system as they ride it all the way to the gutter.
Well, I mean, this administration is making a huge push that all industry, all business has to have a climate component, and the products you create, whatever you manufacture, the effect on the climate has to be built into price. Real estate seems to be exempt from that. So you're absolutely right. Like if you're Bank of America and you're like, we can't finance this because it's bad for climate change. Well, you gave a 30-year mortgage on a house in an area that's going to be underwater in 15. Is that a good investment of your money? So you're right. Like I'm not saying that this should happen, but I'm saying it's funny that the banks are not pricing real estate into this industry.
I got a solution. What's the regulatory body that deals with would that be the SEC? Or would that be the FT? It wouldn't be the FTC, would it?
It
wouldn't be the SEC. Dealing with like when a bank gives out a bunk loan.
Isn't that FDIC?
FDIC?
I think
That's
so.
Insurance. Okay, how about this? Here's what I got to say.
Probably SEC, banking, securities and exchange. That's a security.
I'd imagine.
Oh.
Maybe a little bit of both of FTC. How about this? Conservatives and Democrats can come together, okay? Not the ultra-rich property owners, just the regular working-class people who disagree. And here's one issue they can come together on. These banks that are giving out loans on these properties in Miami Beach on 30-year mortgages or even 15-year mortgages, how about we send the feds after them for fraud? And I think the Democrats who think climate change is a serious problem, we got 12 years left, would agree. And I think the conservatives who see these people as exploiting the crisis in order to make for personal gain. Hey, why not? If these people want to come out and say, there's a big crisis, but then they're selling these expensive properties and giving out these loans, send the feds after them.
If they'll give them a $1 million loan, they're like, you know what? If it goes underwater in 15 years, my dollar is going to be worth $100 million anyway because of inflation. So I'll just pay off that loan.
Not even
calculated
that.
Risk loss.
I'd be willing to bet the banks are like, look, in the event that it's underwater in 15 years, we just get the taxpayer to bail it out. You're fine.
Yeah, well,
it'll be a crisis. FEMA will come in. They'll start building these emergency seawalls for you. You don't got to worry about a thing, and it won't come out of your pocket. The government will keep printing money for you and the banks. It's the poor people who got to work extra hard to get that emergency circumstance solved.
Yeah, there's not physical evidence of climate change. And now someone is listening to this right now and their head is about to explode.
Media Matters just clipped that and they're like...
Exactly. But I mean, they'll show you the California wildfires. They'll talk about, and we hear this phrase all the time, especially from this administration, the severity and the intensity and the frequency of storms. If you look at 30 years of tornadoes, of hurricanes, there is no more severity, intensity, or frequency of storms. The data is fairly flat. There are bad years. Absolutely. There are some really bad years. There are some empty years. But over 30, 40, 50 years, the data is pretty evident. And for me, the biggest evidence that this climate change thing is used, I'm not saying climate change doesn't exist. I'm saying the way it is used by the left for political purposes. For me, the biggest evidence is that the same bodies that have been talking about climate change for most of my life now. I was a sophomore in high school the first time I heard about global warming and United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP. You can still see the article online. They talk about we have 10 years left to fix this. 1989 shows you my age. By the year 2000, the Maldives were going to be underwater. They said half of Bangladesh was going to be underwater. They talked about huge catastrophe. Not only did it not come true, but those agencies have never said why their data was so wrong. What formulation did they use? What algorithms? What calculation and modeling did they use? And how did they fix it? I've never been able to see their fixed, show your work, and they don't.
When I was in grade school, they had us go over a prediction for peak oil consumption.
Yeah. Jimmy Carter said it was by the year 2000 in 76 when he was running for re-election.
I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like 2010. It was like the bell curve was the curve was crashing, and it was like there's no oil left, and that's when we're screwed.
I grew up thinking oil and gas were finite commodities that would be exhausted. I'm at the point now that I think they're not infinite, but they're clearly replenishing because we find more oil and gas every time we turn around. It's ridiculous.
I think there's probably a lot.
Yes.
But I also think that we've been able to synthesize it. And so this idea that we have to dramatically transform the whole planet because of, because of the fear of like peak oil or whatever, we could synthesize it and maintain our current infrastructure.
Yeah.
It'd just be different.
I have no problem with going green as a concept. I have nothing against solar and wind. One of the things I try to do is say we have to see the costs, and not just the physical dollar costs, but the costs to human flourishing if we do this, because there is going to be a lot of suffering. You mentioned right now when Greta said, no, I'm talking right now, no more oil and gas. Well, there's a lot of people right now who are experiencing it.
Millions would die.
Literally.
Overnight. No joke.
I mean, if literally.
The people who require insulin, it's got to be refrigerated. What do these people think the power plants run on? Farts, some smug sense of self-satisfaction of these. We'll build solar plants at night.
Yeah.
How do you have no batteries? I love the idea of new technology. I don't like the idea of holding back development for the sake of existing. I don't like the argument of like, oh no, we got to protect jobs. We do. I think we should have new technology, nuclear, fusion, whatever. But this idea that you can come out right now and just shut it down. Oh, okay. Well, people will starve to death. People will freeze to death. Diabetics will all die because they won't have they won't be able to refrigerate their insulin.
We've never advanced as a society by banning something that is currently in use. We offer better alternatives, and the marketplace and a free people adopt them freely. We have never said that this is the way to go, and therefore this is now illegal.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.